Episode 100. It's finally here. Episode 100. It's crazy to say that we've spent 50 Tuesdays and Thursdays now giving you guys the best available content, a podcast each and every week, just talking sports and having fun. That's why the motto of this channel is Sports Talk and a Dream. One day, maybe we can make this into something relevant. But I started this about a year ago, and I want to say thank you guys for allowing me to do this and for watching my videos over that span of time, as we started this just trying something, and now we have 560 plus subs later. You guys are obviously enjoying it at least a little bit on the road to 1,000 subs. So if you guys enjoy, please support us down below. But without further ado, this is Owen. This is the Anomaly Podcast, episode 100. Sounds good to say that, but let's get into it. All right, we're back with week 4 predictions. Amir is joining us for yet again another week. Go ahead and say what's up.
What's up, everybody? Let's get it. I'm happy to be back, man. I got a lot more time on my schedule now. So, I'm glad to be here. And I'm going to be here more consistently for you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, it's episode 100 officially. I mentioned it in the intro, but episode 100. And, let's get into it. Week 4 predictions on tap. And we're going to start off here with maybe the best, recap here first. Quickly, I was 12-4 last week. Amir, you were on last week. And what was your record last week? It was pretty similar.
I was 12-4 also
last 12-4 also. We both killed it on the season. I have about a 68% correct rate. So if you're, contemplating listening to this podcast, well, you can see I at least know a little bit of what I'm talking about here. But starting off here with that Thursday night game, it might be the best Thursday night game we've had all year, as the Lions at 2-1 and the Packers at 2-1. Whoever wins this game is going to be the leader of the NFC North, as the Vikings and Bears, they aren't really on much this season. But the Lions come into this game after looking really, really good last week against Atlanta. On the flip side, Jordan Love looked really good in that fourth quarter against the Saints. Who do you have in this game?
So, in this game, I'm going to go with Detroit here. I think this game is going to be close. I'm not fully convinced with Jordan Love just yet. Even though he threw 3 TDs last week, there's still phases of the game where, the Packers offense is still looking slow, kind of slow paced. And I think that, this Lions offense is going to tear the secondary up. I think Goff is going to have a big game. Amon-Ra is going to have a big game. And, they're also going to have a solid game on the ground.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than you. I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum, because Jordan Love got his first win at Lambeau as a starter last week. So shout out to Jordan Love. I mean, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback here next year. But as you know, I'm a big Jordan Love fan. I think an interesting stat I did want to bring up in your favor is that Dan Campbell is 3-1 against the Packers in his coaching career. So that goes in the Lions' favor. But the Packers, they have Jordan Love, and he's looked really, really good. I think this game, he's going to look better than Jared Goff. And honestly, I guess my winner depends on who is healthy for this game. Because we just got a report that said Montgomery's going to be back. So shout out to Monty. But Christian Watson, will he be back? Will Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari? There's a lot of key players for the Packers that could play in this game, or they could be out. But I think as long as the Packers get Jair Alexander and Christian Watson back, I'm going to say Green Bay here to win back-to-back games. So you're going with Detroit?
Yep, I'm going with Detroit.
Going with Detroit. We're going to split there on the road there on Thursday night. Then moving over to Sunday, going over the pond, we go to London for the first game of the year. We have the Atlanta Falcons and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, this is maybe, the most interesting matchup of week 4, because we have a clash of styles, as Jacksonville's more of an air-raid offense, where Atlanta is, of course, on the ground. And Atlanta is coming off of that tough loss last week to the Detroit Lions, where they really couldn't do much. And the Jags, they got upset there by the Houston Texans. They're still trying to figure out, how to work at the highest level for this offense. Who do you have in this game here? Is Jacksonville, they're known to be a London team, but they've lost the last 3 games in London.
Yeah, honestly, I was looking at this game, and I'm going to take Jacksonville here. This Falcons defense has been struggling big time. And, the offense is so inconsistent, and it's like if the ground game isn't going, then they struggle completely, throwing the ball. So I think Jacksonville's going to control this game from start to finish. I think this is going to kind of be a statement game for them to kind of show, Trevor Lawrence isn't going anywhere. He's still an elite quarterback. So I'm going to take Jacksonville.
I'm going to take Jacksonville as well. They were a top 5 or 6 team for me coming into the season, and I still believe they can be. If they get on the right track, they're top 10 against the run, which is what Atlanta loves to do. And it's Calvin Ridley's revenge game. I mean, we didn't even
Yeah.
mention that here at the start, but Calvin Ridley's definitely going to get back on track here and kind of have a performance like he did in week one, where he had 8 for 88 and a touchdown or whatever it was. I think Calvin Ridley has a big day, and I think you can bet on that. Amir, are you betting on that?
Yep, betting on that big time.
Of course, we had a Calvin Ridley. The Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Winner of this game takes control of the AFC North. And the Browns, they have maybe a top three defense in the NFL, if that's even discussed. If you can even
Yep.
argue if they are outside of the top three, they've looked really good. The Baltimore Ravens, on the other hand, they lost last week in a game that they had ample amount of opportunity to win. It's kind of like I mean, I'll put it this way: you lost to a backup quarterback, and you lost to Matt Gay, the kicker
Yep.
for the Colts. He had like four different field goals in that game, including the game winner. And they had the ball two or three times in overtime alone, and they still couldn't win the game. So they had plenty of opportunity. It's just one of those things where they couldn't finish the deal against Indy.
They
Granted, it
did.
was terrible conditions there in Baltimore, but they took a loss, and now they're trying to get back on track here. Two top 10 teams in my books, but I am going to go with the Browns here, as I
Yep.
think the Browns, I want to go with the Ravens. Logically, I think the Ravens might win this game, but the Browns have everything to win. And I think this would be a statement win for us heading into the bye week.
Yeah.
As again, coming out of the bye week, we have San Fran, and I don't want to be 2-2 going into San Fran to play them because if we fall under 500, and already, because I'll put it this way, I already know San Fran's going to blow us out. So
Right.
I want to be at least 3-1 going into the bye week. And the Browns, we looked really good last week. I mean, especially on the defensive side of things. I think if we can get after Lamar Jackson, force him to be a passer more so than on the ground, I think the Browns have a really good chance in this game because the Ravens are still adjusting to this new offense.
Right. Yeah, so just you took the words right out of my mouth. The key for the Browns this week is to force Lamar to throw the ball. Like if Lamar beats us with his arm, he does that. I don't think Baltimore's going to be able to run on us. This game could very well be like a low scoring game. You know, kind of a game similar to what we saw versus our game versus Pittsburgh. And I think the Browns are going to play great defensively. It's all about Deshaun just taking that next step as a passer. He's getting better week to week. We still need him to take that next step. And when he does, it's going to be without a question. We're going to take control of this.
Yeah, I have a couple of good stats here as I was right here as the Browns are first in total defense. So we're technically the number one rated defense in the entire NFL, which I just learned that. And as far as yardage and as far as points per game, we only allow about 11 points a game, which is crazy to say for a Cleveland defense. But I also see that Lamar Jackson is 6-1 against the Browns in his career. So who knows? I guess you can go either way, but if we can make Lamar throw, I think we have a pretty good chance. But easier said than done. Any last thoughts about this game here?
No, I'm excited to see it. This will really be able to test, where Deshaun is at. You know, we're not in panic mode yet, even though he's kind of started off slow. But this Ravens defense is definitely legit. The Browns are gonna have to come with it from start to finish. You know, Stefanski's gonna have to find a way to, make it easier for us to throw the ball instead of, just pounding and pounding and running and running and running. We're gonna have to really, raid the air.
Absolutely. I mean, we're gonna have to. I think it's a really big game for the Browns more so than the Ravens. But moving over to our next matchup, we have the LA Rams and the Indianapolis Colts. This game is going to be really weird. I mean, who's starting for Indy at quarterback? That's my biggest question. As Gardner Minshew, sure. I mean, he led the team to victory last week, but again, I mentioned it just a few moments ago. They shouldn't have won that game. The Ravens gave them they basically gave the game away, if I can talk. But the Rams come in here losing two straight, and they're looking to get back on the right track. And I guess, we're a couple weeks away from a guy like Cooper Kupp for the Rams and a guy like Jonathan Taylor returning to the field. But who do you have in this game here?
I'm going to go with the Rams here. Just like you just said, man, the Colts last week, it took for Matt Gay to play like Adam Vinatieri, for them to win this game. And the Rams offense, still is looking good. As long as they have McVay, they still have Stafford, like a veteran quarterback. The offense is going to be straight. And this Colts defense has been struggling at times too, man. And last week it took for everything to go in their favor for them to win. The refs missing calls, everything for their favor for them to win, and they still barely squeaked out a dub. And I think this Rams offense, is going to take control of this game completely. So I'm taking the Rams.
I will say this: if Anthony Richardson is playing, I'll go with the Colts. I was almost positive you were going to go with the Colts, but I will also go with the Rams here unless Richardson is playing because you know what? Just to give a clear answer, I'll go with the Rams on the road here. As you said it there, as they still have a defense led by Aaron Donald. Their offense has really looked good. They just have had some tough matchups early on in the year. So give
Yep.
me the Rams here to improve to 500 and I guess take the Colts down to 500 as they're currently the leaders of the AFC South. So Rams and Rams.
Yep.
Okay, moving over here to the Minnesota and Carolina game. You see both teams are on 3-game losing streaks. Both teams are in desperate need of a win, and these are the games you live for. These are the games that you turn on Sunday when you're when you have to pick from a slate of games. Like I'm going to go watch the 0-3 Vikings versus the 0-3 Panthers. But the Vikings come in here, I'm sure, clear favorites in this game. They've looked really good, well, in moments this season, but they've also looked really bad, and they haven't been able to finish games. I think they're 0-3 in the one-score games this year, which they were 11-0 last year. So
Yep.
a flip, I guess they're on the other side of the bed this season. And for the Panthers, I mean, Bryce Young's going to be out. It's going to be Andy Dalton. So, yeah, I mean, pretty easily here, I'm going to take the Vikings on the road.
For me, I'm gonna take the Vikings right here. The Vikings are favored, and I'm going with the favorite in this game. If I had to pick, between two 0-3 teams, I'm picking Minnesota all day. This offense is elite, a top five passing offense in my eyes. The biggest struggles is the defense, man. Like this might be the worst passing defense I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad to the point where I got to turn the TV off while they're on defense, man. Um, you know, and so honestly, the Panthers, man, their offense doesn't look convincing to me either. I think Kirk Cousins is going to throw for 400, maybe 500. Justin Jefferson's going to go absolutely crazy this game, and I'm going to take Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson's on pace to break the all-time record for receiving yards in a season, and this is just another game where I think, unless J.C. Horn is out, if I'm not mistaken, or if not, he's banged up. And whatever the case is, I think Justin Jefferson should at least go for 150 in this game, have a pretty good day
Yeah.
to himself, to I guess build towards that record, which like I think we might have two receivers break that record this year. Of course, Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. We're both going to Vikings there. Moving over to Cincinnati at Tennessee. Cincinnati, they I guess fell. They stumbled into a win last week. Didn't look convincing at all. But Joe Burrow is 3-0 against the Titans in his career. That is including the
Yeah.
postseason. And he's averaging about 300 yards passing in those games. So even though he's on a bum ankle or a calf, excuse me, I think Cincinnati comes into this game. I think this might be their best game of the season, as
Yeah.
Tennessee still has some questions to figure out offensively at the quarterback position. Give me Cincinnati here on the road to, I guess, improve to 500, make the AFC North a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I think Cincy's going to come in and win this game. I think this is going to be a confidence booster for them. Something that they desperately need right now. This starting off slow. Their O line has been struggling to pass block a lot. Teams have, been making it difficult for Joe Burrow so far. But, I think they come in and take control of this game. Tennessee's offense, obviously, like you just said, is absolutely terrible. The only thing, that's solid about this team is their run defense. But since he's known for passing the ball, so they're gonna put their trust in Joe Burrow and their playmakers, Jamar Chase, and they're gonna throw the ball and make a statement game.
Yeah, this might even be like a Tyler Boyd game, just out of the blue. Just he goes for 6 catches, 80 yards because whatever reason, Tyler Boyd has one of those games every year. Moving over here to an NFC South matchup, two teams here, the Saints and the Tampa Bay Bucks, who both lost their games last week. The Saints lost Derek Carr, most importantly, and the Tampa Bay Bucks lost a tough Monday nighter there to Philly, where they didn't stand much of a chance, but they had their moments. And this is a battle between two Heisman winners, between Jameis Winston and Baker Mayfield. Who do you have in a game like this? As I have it wrong here, New Orleans is home and Tampa is on the road. So who do you have in this matchup here?
I'm gonna take New Orleans right here. this is a team where, both offenses have struggled, but both defenses have looked great at times. And I think this game is going to, be a slugfest. It's going to be gritty, grimy. I'm going to take New Orleans here. I think Baker's going to struggle against this New Orleans secondary. Jameis Winston, he's at home. It's a revenge game, I'm going to take Olave having a big game right here, and I'm New Orleans winning this game.
Yeah, I mean New Orleans. I think this game kind of screams like defensive game, and New Orleans has the edge. But my question to you is, okay, I'll go with New Orleans as well, but because they're home and they have a better defense. But my question to you for this game, more importantly, is on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think the odds are that Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans get into it yet again?
Oh man, 100%. Man, the odds,
100%.
man, the odds are negative 10,000, man.
I don't. It's funny how they just do that every single year, and the
Every
league
year.
just doesn't. I guess I don't know. They just kind of
Man,
welcome
the
it.
league does not address the situation, but hey, man, I'm all for it. I'm all about, being competitive.
Well, I mean that's competitive in one way, but moving over here to the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills, no doubt the game of the week, and this is a game that I think it's going to be really pivotal for the remainder of the season. The Bills, they lost week 1 to an Aaron Rodgers-less Jets team, but they got back on track. They've only allowed 13 points the last 2 weeks. Granted, it was to the Raiders and to the Commanders, but still, only 13 points the last 2 weeks. They've scored over 35 plus in those games. They've looked really dominant the last 2 weeks. They kind of looked like the Bills team that we've known the last couple of years. And the Dolphins, I mean, you can't come off of more of a high than what they're at right now. As you were 2-0, you're playing a Denver team that's desperate for a win, and you not only go out there and win by 50, but you put up 70 points in an NFL game and third most in NFL history. Who do you have in this matchup? It's no doubt the game of the week, and I guess it's maybe one of the most important games of the year.
Yeah, this is a very important game for both teams. This is kind of one of those games where, you're gonna put the league on notice. And actually, I'm gonna surprise people here, but I'm gonna take Buffalo here. I think Miami hasn't seen a defense like Buffalo, but I still think this is gonna be a shootout, man. Like this is a game that's really gonna be tough to tell. Um, I think Josh Allen is gonna tear the Dolphins secondary up. The secondary has struggled without Ramsey, as we've seen, and this game is just going to come down to who can manage the clock better, who can control the possessions a little longer, who can pretty much, make stops when it's needed in crunch time.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Bills fan, and I'll say that here. And I think we've only differed on 2 games so far, but I will agree with you here. I'm a big Miami fan. I have them as a top 3 team in the NFL, but I do think Buffalo at home here is going to get the win. As like you touched on it, they haven't faced a defense of the caliber of Buffalo, and Buffalo's not even at full strength because Von Miller won't be back for a while. I'm not sure the status of Jalen Ramsey, as he should be back here any game if I'm not mistaken. You would know
Yep.
more about that than me. But the Bills, I think they're going to win this game, and I think they're going to, kind of prove to the world, hey, we're back. If you had any doubts about us after week 1, we're here, and we are the same Bills team that we've seen. But at the same time, I'm not a big Bills fan, and unfortunately, I will take them here, even though Miami's had their number. Kind of I guess brings Miami back down to earth as far as, I mean, when you come off of 70 points, it might be a shock to people if they drop 17 to 24 points this week.
Right.
But Buffalo, in your opinion?
Yep. I'm taking Buffalo.
All right, taking Buffalo. And we're moving over to here. I mean, I'm telling you, Amir, this is the game that Sunday morning, I'm waking up 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. This is the game I'm prepping for. This is the game that, we have red zone. I'm putting this game on over any other game because the 2-0-3 teams, 2 teams that this is, they're desperate for a win. This might be the game of the year. It might just come out and shock us, but at the same time, it might be the worst game we've ever seen of 2
Yeah.
teams. As the Broncos, this is a team that we thought would look a lot better this year under Sean Payton, myself included. I thought they'd be around an 8-8 or 8-9, 9-8 team, excuse me. But they're 0-3, and they look like kind of front runners for Caleb Williams. And
Yeah.
they just had 70 dropped on their head. The Bears, on the other hand, don't look much better. I mean, their quarterback can't process a field. He's struggling to get through his reads.
Yeah.
And this is a team that also looks like front runners for Caleb Williams. Who do you have in this matchup as, I'm sure a total of 20 people will be watching this game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This game might be, rated worst. It might be, least streamed, worse than the COVID NBA finals, man. This game is absolutely trash. Man, I'm gonna be honest, but I'm gonna go Chicago here. This game is tough to choose. You got Denver that's coming off of a major loss. We'll kind of see how they respond to it, how they respond to the adversity. I think Fields is gonna finally, be able to process a field, act like he's not in high school anymore. And Denver on the ground is gonna struggle, I think.
Think so.
Chicago is gonna win this game. Honestly, I really don't have much to say about this game. This game can go either way. Both teams are desperate and absolutely garbage.
I'm actually going to differ from you here for the sole fact that I think Justin Fields, even if he does get back on track, he's going to have to rely on Cole Kmet and Chase Claypool and a banged up Darnell Mooney to move the
Yeah,
ball down the field and be productive. Because I'll say this, and maybe I'm too high on PS2, but Pat Surtain's going to have DJ Moore. I mean, we're going to forget he plays for the Bears in this game,
yeah.
and that's going to force Justin Fields to be his version from last season, where
I
he's
have to
on
use
the
his
ground.
leg.
If Denver can limit the groundwork from Justin Fields, I think this game can go in Denver's favor early. And I will take Denver here. And I just saw a stat here that said Denver and the Bears, these are two teams that were outscored 111 to 30 last week to Philly and Kansas City. But I do think that, Denver protects the ball a little bit more, and I'll take them on the road here as Patrick Surtain should have a really big game. Maybe not statistically, but, impact wise. Moving over here to an NFC East matchup, if I'm not mistaken, the Commanders at 2-1. They were 2-0 coming into last week, but they lost pretty handily there to the Bills, 37-3. The Eagles, on the other hand, they're Philly. They haven't even been. In my opinion, they haven't looked their best early in the year, and they're still beating teams pretty handily, and he still look like a top three team. I just don't think that they're clicking on all cylinders right now. So with that being said, they're still 3-0, still a top five team in the league, depending on who you ask. And no doubt here, I'm going to take Philly as they have maybe the best, I'll say this, they're the most complete team in football, no doubt.
Yeah,
They check every box, in all honesty. And they should have their way with Washington here, even though Washington, their D line's fully healthy, finally, as we haven't seen that much over the years. I still think Philly's going to win this game and pretty handily at that, at home against a young quarterback, and they have a really good defense.
yep. I'm gonna go ahead and take Philly here. The Commanders looked great at first, but then last week kind of just, brought them down to earth. And, this team has really struggled, on the ground. Like, I think in the past two games, that they've given up around 800 total yards,
Which is crazy.
and about 300 of those yards coming on the ground. And, this is the kind of game where, Jalen Hurts, he can relax. He can relax. He doesn't have to force the ball down the field. He can rely on his run game, on his O-line. It's going to be a pretty solid and easy game for him. And so I think Philly's going to take control of this game.
Absolutely. We're both taking Philly.
Yep.
We'll take it Philly. And then I think the final 1 o'clock game here we're gonna talk about is the Steelers going to Houston to take on the Texans. This game can go up in the air, but I think Houston's gonna be business as usual. CJ Stroud's been averaging like 40 pass attempts a game. It looks like a Madden franchise, but he's been averaging about 40 attempts a game, and I think that should continue in this game against the Steelers. However, this is where CJ Stroud meets TJ Watt. TJ
Yeah.
Watt, I think, leads the league in sacks. If not, he's pretty close to it. And I'm going to take the Steelers here on the road to give the young quarterback some trouble. And CJ Stroud and the Texans, even though they're improved, they're going to fall to 1-3.
Yeah. Man. So for this game, I was looking at this game. I'm going to go ahead and take Pittsburgh here. Even though Pittsburgh's offense has struggled, the Texans have some injuries, and I think actually this week, Stingley is also out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and man, you know, I think Stroud is going to get a true awakening of seeing this Pittsburgh defense. Pittsburgh is one of those teams that never go away. It doesn't matter if they have lack of talent. They'll always find a way to have a top defense, have a gritty and grimy defense, even if it's not statistically great. They're always going to make it tough on teams, and I think they're going to make it tough on the Texans and going to win
Absolutely. I
this.
mean, at least they should. So Pittsburgh here to close off the 1 o'clock games.
Yep, taking Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh here. Moving over to an AFC West matchup. we have the Raiders, we have the Chargers, two teams that have underperformed in a lot of people's eyes. Jimmy G, a guy who's protected the ball his entire career, has not done that this season with the Raiders, and that's with a head coach. Excuse me, I was going to say an offensive coordinator, but head coach in Josh McDaniels that he's known for years and years, so he knows the system. He's just not protecting the ball as a starting quarterback. And then on the flip side, you have the Chargers got a much needed win last week against the Vikings, and they almost blew it there at the end of the game. But I think the Chargers keep rolling in this game. At least they should to
Yep.
continue the rumblings that Devontae Adams is frustrated and wants out of Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Chargers right here. Last week, man, this Raiders defense made Pittsburgh offense look elite, man. I think Pittsburgh scored like 23 points and like 300 total yards in 3 quarters. They're just moving the ball with ease. And this Chargers team is going to put up 40 on Las Vegas. This is going to kind of add more fuel. Just like you just said, making Devontae Adams, making these guys want to leave and want to have a change.
I don't know if you heard the report, but there's 6 teams around the league that are interested in Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams in a recent interview said that he hears that Cleveland is nice this time of year. I don't want to start any rumblings, right? But I think he's interested in coming to the Browns. I don't want to again that my fandom might be getting in the way,
So
but
we're not jinxing.
that would be insane.
That would be
Um,
absolutely crazy, man.
absolutely crazy. I wonder what we would have to trade for him. At least a couple first round picks that we don't have. Regardless, moving over here to the most interesting matchup of the week. I've said that a couple times. Of course, I'm joking here as we have the Cardinals, who had maybe the most upset of a win last week over the
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys. They moved to 1-2. Josh Dobbs looked really, really good. And I think the Cardinals found a recipe to beat the Cowboys, and that is to run towards Michael Parsons and don't let him just dictate the game and the pace of it. They
Yep.
attacked Michael Parsons last week, double teamed him a lot, and they really, took him out the game. In all honesty, the Cardinals, however, in this game, they face a lot more of a complete team. They face maybe the number one team in the league, at least in my opinion, in the San Francisco 49ers, a team that has just been clicking on all cylinders. And I guess the down part of this team is that Brock Purdy he's had his moments where he hasn't looked the greatest. And with that being said, they're still dominating teams. So if Brock
Right.
Purdy can get, I guess, can he play? If he can play at his fullest potential, this team's going to look even better down the stretch of the year. And as long as San Fran can stay healthy, give me San Fran here at home.
Yeah, I'm taking San Fran here with ease. I think they improved the 4-0. Just like you just said, man, Brock Purdy does not have to play great and they still dominate teams. This team can just score in a variety of ways and they make it look easy. Brock Purdy can go ahead and throw for 100 yards passing and they still find a way to put up 30, 40 points, which is ridiculous.
It
So,
is.
I'm going to go ahead and take San Fran and win this game.
Yeah, I think maybe a George Kittle game here finally, but we haven't really had one this year.
Yep.
Moving over here to New England at Dallas. New England, we both predicted it. We couldn't see Bill Belichick going 0-3, and they didn't. They got a much needed win last week. They improved to 1-2 in an ugly game there against the Jets. Regardless, they play a Dallas team here that lost one of the most embarrassing games, I guess, for them last week because it kind
Yep.
of felt like, okay, the Cardinals were up 2 scores like they were in the first 2 weeks. Dallas is going to get it together. They're going to come back and win this game because Arizona isn't really trying to win games right now, but they didn't. And Dallas just kind of got dominated the entire game, even though the score, doesn't say it doesn't spell out blowout, but it really felt like that when you watch the game. And
Yeah.
Arizona had control for the entirety of it. For this matchup, though, Dak Prescott's playing a Patriots defense that has held elite quarterbacks in check so far this year, as the Patriots held Jalen Hurts to an okay performance. Same with Tua in week 2. In week 3, of course, they dominated Zach Wilson, but 2 elite quarterbacks that the Patriots have kind of, I guess, limited this year. And now they have Dak Prescott. I think if Dallas wants to win this game, it's going to be off of the defense and the run game like they've won so far this year. So give me Dallas at home in, barely. I'll say an ugly game here for Dallas to squeak out a win.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take Dallas as well. I think Dallas is just, more complete all across the board. Obviously this Patriots defense is, making it tough on these guys, making it tough on quarterbacks, but I just don't see the Patriots, having enough to slow down the Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys are a team similar to the Niners, man. They have so much talent, like from top to bottom. Even if Dak doesn't have the greatest game, still so easy for them to move the ball and score in a different variety of ways. So I'm gonna
Uh,
go ahead
uh,
and take that one.
Last week I asked you who was your Super Bowl favorite going into the year, and you said Dallas. After that game last week against the Cardinals, is that opinion still? It's still, is that still your opinion? Do you still think they can
Oh
win it all?
man, after last week, man, honestly, I'm not gonna change my stance just yet. It's still only week 4. I don't think Dallas is in panic mode just yet. But that's kind of a wake up call. To kind of keep them in check, keep them in order. And I say in the next couple weeks, I start to truly gauge on who is the new favorite.
Okay, moving over here to the Sunday night game, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs who are 3-0. They had a dominant performance last week against the Bears. Of course, we all watched that, or at least struggled to watch that game. The Jets are at home here, and they just signed Trevor Siemian, so maybe that's a season-changing signing. But Zach Wilson should get the start here, and New York has a lot to figure out. So I'm going to go with the Jets here. I think the Jets are going to come out. Zach Wilson's going to have 7 touchdowns. No, I'm just joking. Chiefs are going to cakewalk in this game. They're going to win by 2 or 3 scores. The Chiefs are going to get after Zach Wilson, and that's going to be the end of the story. Chiefs move to 4-0.
Yeah, Chiefs moved to 4-0.
I mean, there's not much, there's not much to say about that game.
You never want to say, guys. I mean, you better off, not wasting your time. Don't even turn that game on.
Yeah, I mean,
If you have any subscription to any, channels to watch this game, cancel the subscriptions.
ask
Don't
for a
watch,
refund.
NFL for the rest of the day and just, spend time with your family.
Moving over to Monday Night Football, it's so disrespectful, but I mean, Zach Wilson's just not, I guess, good at football. Monday Night Football, though, we have the Seattle Seahawks at 2-1 as they've turned their season around after that embarrassing week 1 to the Rams. They've won 2 straight. They're facing a Giants team that has been a roller coaster this year. They started off the year with an embarrassing 40-0 loss. Then they bounced back against a team that doesn't want to win games, but barely. They beat the Cardinals. And then week 3, they got blown out yet again there to the San Francisco 49ers. So what version are we going to get of the Giants? I guess the pattern would tell us that we get a pretty good game here from the Giants. But who do you have Monday Night Football to close off week 4?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Seattle right here. This is an interesting game because all the major sports books have the odds for this game, being even. Like there's no clear favorite for this game. But I'm gonna go ahead and go Seattle here. Just like you just said, man, the Giants, we don't know what version of them we're gonna get. But at least with Seattle, we can say that their offense is, somewhat still up there, the top 10 range. And I think Geno Smith is gonna do solid this game. I think they're gonna have to go ahead and blitz Daniel Jones, try to make it tough on him, force him to make quick reads. And yeah, I'm gonna go with Seattle here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you as well. I think it's going to be a big Ken Walker day yet again, back-to-back weeks. Maybe we get a DK Metcalf sighting, but which I'm going to ask you that here in a second. But I think Seattle's going to win this game. I think that they look like their version from last year, and I think they improved to 3-1. I guess kind of make this NFC West interesting there with the 49ers. But I want to ask you this, as Bakari asked me this week 1 or week 2 when we did our predictions. He asked me if I was disappointed with how DK's career has transpired to this point. And my basic argument to Bakari was I think DK Metcalf has been disappointing because the questions, in my opinion, should be is DK Metcalf the best receiver in the league and not is he the best receiver on his team, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, do you think we should be seeing more from DK Metcalf, or do you think he's just doing he's doing a good job because he has, again, the toughest corner matchup each and every week?
I mean, honestly, you know, you can honestly go back to even DK's, when he was drafted, DK obviously was a freak athlete and nobody thought, he was gonna be, that guy, be a top receiver in the league. But he's proven to himself that he's obviously capable of it. The biggest struggle with DK is, his body language and his effort, man. And I think in my opinion, he's been disappointing just for the simple fact that he should have hit a major leap, last year to be proven as a top 3 to top 5 receiver in the league. But you see Tyler Lockett, outperforming him at times. And in my eyes, man, Tyler Lockett is arguably the best receiver on that team. Like I could
He might
legitimately make
actually
the
be, in all
argument.
honesty.
In all honesty, he's more productive, he's more consistent. You look at Tyler Lockett, it's 100% effort every single play. He does a lot more, in between the lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise for Seattle because you have this freak athlete that is always going to get the number one corner matchup because, I mean, look at DK Metcalf, but I mean, Seattle's best receiver might be the guy that is getting, the second or third best corner on each and every play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a blessing in disguise there. But again, we both took Seattle for this matchup. And before we get out of here, again, there we go. I don't know why the slideshow just was lagging behind, but 100 episodes in the books here, as 100 episodes have come and go. Of course, that's not counting the fantasy football stuff where we would be at around probably 200 at this point. I want to ask you this. You've been on 3 episodes now where you were on this video here, the 2010s player draft, where that was fun there with Bakari. He said that was actually one of his favorite episodes ever. And then you've been on the last 2 weeks of the podcast. Do you have a favorite episode? I know it's a small sample size, but do you have a favorite episode or memory from the podcast so far?
Honestly, my favorite memory was, the first episode I was on here, the 2010s draft, it was really fun because it kind of brought a reunion back with us, being able to talk sports. And, I feel like every normal fan, loves drafts. They love, kind of doing fantasy drafts, kind of, making hypotheticals on who they think on what team is best. We had a bunch of fan interaction, and, comments, their opinions and stuff on our teams as well. So that's for sure probably my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, you had, I think the draft started, you had the second pick. So you got LeBron because Bakari took Steph
The
number
greatest
one.
player of all time.
Uh, yes, I'm not going to argue with you there. But I mean, yeah, that was definitely that's the only podcast, including the fantasy football stuff, anything from the channel start to now that has had 3 people on one show. So that's it's definitely it stands out in a good way. And I guess any last thoughts before we get out of here because well, again, 100 episodes are in the books.
100 episodes, man. Congratulations. You've been grinding consistently. It's paying off. Thank you guys for the support, for supporting him. He works hard. You guys may not see it. Man, he works hard, dropping consistent content for you guys. And, just keep on supporting, turn on post notifications, follow the social on Instagram. And yeah, just keep on supporting, guys. Appreciate it.
I mean, that was my job, but thank you. I mean, I was expecting you to say just something. But yes, I mean, do everything he said to do, and yeah, we're gonna keep grinding. I mean, yeah, no doubt another 100 to go. As I mean, this is the risk I'm taking, to this podcast for you guys. But that's gonna do it for today's episode. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some fantasy football content, and we'll be back next Tuesday with our updated players of the week and top 10 rankings. Which we'll have to get you on one of those. Maybe we'll switch around the schedule where you
Oh
can
yeah,
get on
let's
one of
do it.
those with me. But I guess until next week, we'll see you guys then. And Amir, you're back next Thursday.
Yep, I'm back, ready to go.
I think Bakari might be off, so we might have to kind of do a little reunion here and get all 3 of us on the pod. But I
Let's
guess
get
until
it.
then, stay happy, stay healthy. We're out of here.